Part of me really wants to just mock this headline: trans vegan terror cult tied to recent murder of Border Patrol agent and at least 3 others. But the terrifying reality is that these people are violent, they are dangerous, and they are deranged. And while there's going to be a lot of people who are going to go, ha, 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 the Antifa, they're vegans, they don't eat meat, they don't know what they're doing. It's like, man, let me tell you, these people are nuts. And crazy people are dangerous. You can be a well-fed, smart, God-fearing Christian man, 6'3", chiseled, work out every day, feed your family, of good moral standing, and one of these trans vegan terrorists can hit you with a car, right? You can mock them all day and night, but they have the ability to wield the tool the same as anybody else. And so I say this: we want to mock and shame and all of these things. But I do think it's important that we consider these insane people are still very, very, very dangerous. And as Trump begins his efforts, we have predicted such a thing may occur. Now, I've been saying there's a couple ways to look at it. One is that there's a popular mandate. Trump has done so well that many of these people will just back down. They'll basically disappear. They don't have the masses anymore to shroud their endeavors. Or, as Trump begins to ramp things up, we're going to see a resurgence of far left violence and the resistance. I don't know for sure, but this is one of the craziest things we've heard in a long time. The Washington Times reports the Ziz cult has been blamed for a string of brutal slayings and mayhem across the U.S., including the fatal shooting of a Border Patrol agent in Vermont. Excuse me. A nationwide manhunt is underway for Michael Zajko, a transgender non-binary person who police believe bought the semi-automatic weapons used by the 2 other trans people who fatally shot Border Patrol agent David Malland on January 20th during a traffic stop in Coventry, Vermont. Several of the associates are in custody and are charged with violent crimes. Alleged leader Jack Ziz Lasota, a vegan who goes by the name Andrea Phelps, is at large after faking his death to escape prosecution. Miss Zajko, who was connected to the group in online posts, is also a person of interest in the killings of her parents in 2023 in connections with the slayings of Vallejo, California landowner Curtis Lind. In all, the alleged cult is tied to a string of killings reminiscent of the murders carried out by Charles Manson's followers in the 1960s. In this case, Mr. Lasota is not charged in any of the killings. Some members of the Ziz group are charged with gravely injuring and later killing Lind. They were accused of attacking him with a sword after he tried to evict them from squatting on his property. Lind, 82, fatally shot one of his assailants in self-defense. He lost an eye in the attack, and on January 17th, as he was poised to testify against his accused assailants, he was stabbed to death outside his home. Police arrested Maximilian Bentley Snyder, who has connections to the Zizians, and charged him with Lind's death. In court documents obtained by the AP, prosecutors said Lind was intentionally killed for the purpose of preventing his testimony in a criminal proceeding. Although law enforcement made connections between many of the individuals, online social media influencer Andy No, who has tracked Antifa and other antisocial groups, pieced together the attacks more broadly. Last month, he helped tie the violence to Mr. Lasota and his associates. Mr. No, writing for the New York Post, described Mr. Lasota's group, known as the Zizians, as highly educated trans vegan rationalists who hold fringe esoteric ideological beliefs about transhumanism and animal rights. Mr. Lasota was at the scene of Lynn's first attack and was squatting on Lynn's property, but police let him go even though he had skipped a court appearance on an unrelated charge. Police and court records show a pattern of violence among members associated with him. Felix Ophelia Buckholt and University of Washington student Teresa Milo Consuelo Youngblood, 2 trans people, fired at Malin during a traffic stop, according to federal law enforcement. Buckholt, a German national in the U.S. on an expired visa, was killed in the shootout with the Border Patrol agents. An FBI search of their Toyota Prius uncovered guns, ammo, and tactical gear, including a ballistic helmet, night vision equipment, and full-face respirators, according to an affidavit. Ms. Youngblood faces 2 federal charges related to assault with a deadly weapon. She is also connected to the death of Lind. Miss Youngblood, 21, Mr. Snyder, 22, who is charged with killing Lind, applied for a marriage license in King County, Washington on November 5th, county records show. They are now facing likely facing decades or life in prison on the separate murder charges. Mr. Snyder describes himself in his LinkedIn profile as a passionate scholar, data scientist, and creator who attended Oxford University, sang in his high school choir, and was a National Merit Scholarship finalist. Mr. Lasota's whereabouts are unknown. He was arrested in 2019 while protesting and barricading a workshop by the Berkeley-based Center for Applied Rationality. His mother and associates say he later died in a boating accident and produced an obituary. Was it faking his own death? Is that what it is? The Coast Guard conducted a search, but nobody was found. Police later made contact with Mr. Lasota at the scene of Lynn's first attack, but he was not arrested or charged. A mistake. Now, the interesting thing is why they call themselves Zizians. For those that aren't familiar, Ziz is a giant griffin-like bird in Jewish mythology, said to be large enough to be able to block the sun with its wingspan. It is considered a giant animal monster corresponding to archetypal creatures. Rabbis have said that Ziz is comparable to the Persian Simurgh, while modern scholars compare the Ziz to the Sumerian Anzu and the ancient Greek phoenix. There's only one passing mention of the Ziz in the Bible, found in Psalms 50:11. Quote, I know all the birds of the mountains, and Ziz Sedeh is mine. The boar from the forest ravages, and Ziz Sedeh feeds on it. And these are often lost in translation from the Hebrew, being referred to in most English translations as ambiguous beasts, referred to as neither singular nor avian. Interesting. As Leviathan is the king of fishes, so the Ziz is appointed to rule over the birds. It's very interesting because there are three mythical creatures in the Bible, and that is not only three, but three. There may be three. There's the behemoth, the beast of the land, the Leviathan, the beast of the seas, and the Ziz, the beast of the skies. Just interesting stuff, by the way. I don't know. But going back to the trans vegan terror cult, they're kind of bird-like, aren't they? You know, if I looked at Antifa and had to describe them, lanky, gangly, you know, very bird-like. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. My friends, my fear, these kinds of things will ramp up substantially because Trump's actions are pronounced, to say the least. What we are seeing in Trump's first 2 weeks it's apocalyptic to the liberal world order, the deep state, and to wokeness. The gutting of DEI, the termination of FBI agents, the destruction of USAID. These efforts may mean that the Democrats, as we know it, will never win another election again. Now, hold on for a second. The Republicans and Democrats are both bad, but the Republicans run by the neocon establishment, that's over. When Trump won the first time, it was Paul Ryan. It was the neocon shill establishment that was no different. It was almost the same. There was the shill establishment, and Trump, well, he broke his way in. The neocons then joined forces with the Democrats so they can try and resist, and they've lost. The Democratic Party is now deeply unpopular, holding only a 31% favorability in the latest polls. And Donald Trump is gutting the deep state. So I wonder, to what degree of resistance will we see? The trans vegan terror cult, well, it could just be a group of, I don't know, crackpot randos. I mean, they exist. Tons of different Antifa groups exist. Is it really something so substantive? I believe that as the cycle goes, you get a Republican president, the far left comes out in massive numbers. And so what we are seeing now with these immigration raids, the protests we just saw in LA, there's a strong likelihood, in my opinion, that Antifa will rise up again. But there is a challenge for them. I do believe we will see a strong fringe element like this, violent and dangerous. However, they're not going to have the same mass appeal. When Trump was running the first time, he was unpopular. Now his approval ratings through the roof. So the question then becomes, will enough regular people join the fray to provide cover to the extremists? I'm not convinced. I believe we will see more extremists, but I'm not convinced they will have the mass numbers to obfuscate their activities. But we will see. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. If you like the work that we do and you want to see us do more, being a member at timcast.com makes it all possible. Thanks for hanging out. We got one more segment coming up for you, and we'll see you all shortly.